Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dune Over. We're experimenting, so just bear with us. I am Dan at Comic Shop News, and I'm joined by Sid at Cartoon Sid, and Jennifer, Comics Will Break Your Heart on YouTube, or Comic Books Will Break Your Heart on Instagram. I'm actually finally starting to get it right. It's a dream. It is part of my prescience. It is my terrible purpose to finally get this damn thing right.
That terrible purpose.
So I wanted to start out real quick, kind of like channel news. I guess with our friend of the show, Andrew, we're going to be doing a promoted book with him. So we'll be kind of promoting it, and he'll be pushing it. He just opened his own online comic store.
Cool.
And he's been a fantastic supporter of the show, and he did like an Instagram story that like completely warmed my heart the other day when I saw it, about how Jen and I are the only ones who put out great comic book content, not spec and hype.
Is it weird that we actually talk about comic books? Is that
apparently
weird?
It is. And we had our best views on the show on Sunday. 41 views so far on that, which for us is fantastic. 24 live.
Whoop, whoop. Yeah, that was nice. It was really fun for the comments. So thank you to everyone who joined, and thank you anyone who's in the comments now. I want to see some comments.
Also, we very much appreciate all our supporters and viewers. We have no idea why you come every week, but thank you.
Yeah.
So I had some text from Cidnya that she wanted me to share.
Oh, good.
She also posted on Instagram her thoughts so far. So right here she goes, also FYI, Paul can suck my dick.
Yeah. That was probably the first one. Like,
and I was like,
also.
Yeah, and I was like, I was like, oh, is it because my mother is my enemy? She goes, boy, you're fucking lucky that a scary space witch lady decided to have you, fuck boy. So that ended her.
Where is the lie?
There is no lie. It was just funny because like it literally went from 0 to 90 with her. She was like, no, fuck Paul.
Yeah. That's, I think that Frank Herbert would agree.
It's valid. I totally like agree, because there's times where you're just like, what is your problem, dude? Like, I get it. You're in the desert. Like, you don't know what. She also, if you read her post, she talked about how it's upsetting her with the movie not having more MENA actors.
More what actors?
She put MENA or MENA, MENA, which I think she meant more Arab actors and such, that they're not. And then
like Middle Eastern.
Yes, and then the Orientalism of it, she kind of commented on real quick.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what the movie will look like, because I think that's the point, is that most of the main characters are not part of the Fremen, but I think that when we do get to the Fremen, like we will see more of that.
Hopefully. Again, you have Stilgar being a Latino, which is interesting, but at least, we have a person of color playing it.
Not a white person. Yeah.
Unlike hey, everybody in the Fremen are white. Mm-hmm. Middle East, North Africa. Thank you, Noah.
Thank you.
I have, we only read 2 chapters.
Beefy chapters, though.
They were. I felt like it was a good point. But I feel like there was so much knowledge about the Fremen, and especially the ties to like Middle Eastern culture. Obviously, it was like appropriated, but we do get to see little snippets of that in this book, or in these 2 chapters.
Do you have a Truly handy?
I don't. I'm not feeling 100%, so I.
Well, you're inebriated. So anyway, we want to salute our new president.
Yes.
Salute. I told
That's right.
Told Sid I was going to have a strong spice beer with her.
Yes, the night that I nearly died. So yeah.
I'm trying to count the amount of times you've told me you're never drinking again. I'd say
we're not that time. This is when
we're at about.
I believe I told you that yesterday.
Yes. You also told me before you left Thailand, when I don't know what you drank, but you just replied skulls.
Oh man. And I did a show with you guys
the next day.
I was really holding it together.
Since you missed last week, you want to give us some of your afterthoughts of those chapters?
Yeah, so I actually played catch up today, and I had to read the chapter with the Count and with the Baron. And my biggest question is, how do you guys verbalize in your head all of the humming that they do? Like, what does that sound like to you? Because I don't even know how to read that.
So in my head, it was him going, yes, So Lumberg from Office Space?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to come in, like something like that.
But it just goes on for so long. There's so many M dashes involved.
But the fact that he does it on purpose to make himself seem like a moron, and people under like they don't get a measure of his character. They underestimate it because like Fade, and we both were like that part where Fade's like, may I do this in your honor? And she's like, no.
You little boy. But yeah, I did notice that he completely stopped vocalizing like that when he was speaking in private with the Baron.
Once they got in the bubble,
he was
like,
just instantly like.
And the part where like the Baron's like, do not antagonize this motherfucker. Do not start with him, Fade. Like, do not.
So the Count and Lady Finrig are my vote for the ultimate Dune power couple. At this point in the universe.
When he's like, yeah, go ahead, fuck him. We got to keep that line alive.
I know. He's like, my job's hard too, lady.
Hello, Ruben. Cowabunga to you, brother.
That chapter with Count Fenring doing that was so miserable, and I'm sure like you both have been there where you're having a conversation with someone who just won't get to the fucking point, or you have to say like, oh, that's crazy. Like that's the only, you have to say that like 10 times. That's how it felt reading that chapter. It was miserable. I know that there's a lot that goes on in that chapter, but they could leave that out in the movie and I'd be okay with it.
Like,
it would be fine, yeah.
We're past my trigger point right now on the book now that Jamis is done and over with.
Now it's just Irulan Thirst Hour every Monday at 10.
Yeah.
We've moved on to the next stage.
You did see the thumbnail.
Everyone saw the thumbnail. I agree with you, Jen, that
we're not to the sex nuns yet. Really, then it's sex nuns all the time.
It's going to be a couple months till we get there, bud.
Yeah, I know.
Have those breaks.
I can't wait to hear Cidnya go again.
I agree with you. It doesn't need to be in the movie because it would be super boring. Just listen to someone hum for 15 minutes.
So I feel like if he did it like twice during just a little bit of the talk and then he goes straight into like you cut some of the fat of it. He does it once or twice when he's talking to Fade, and then as soon as he talks to the Baron in private, he goes right to the listen, fuckface.
Yeah.
Why'd you take the Sardaukar off?
I feel like they could do it in a different way, because I feel like when they have him hum and haw, it almost to me makes it feel like you're making fun of someone who stutters. And I think that what they could possibly do is, instead of doing that, maybe they could have him either speak with an accent or like a certain like twang to the voice, and instead of something that makes either him sound like a stutter. I don't want
do what they did in Game of Thrones where spoke like a lowborn.
Yeah, like using very specific language. I think that would take a lot more than just nuance, but I think that they could easily do something that's like code switches from like one talking pattern to another in a way that one doesn't dull the audience, because that was so boring and I would hate that part of the movie the way I hated that chapter.
I mean, it would be even better if Lady Fenring did all the talking and he didn't talk.
And he just didn't
want he gets in private.
I'm honestly 100% down for a remake of this movie and book where just all the women talk. And men just don't.
None of the men talk.
And just, can we get that? Let's do that reading of the book.
Perfect. Yeah. Although I do want to say it is possible, because like I said, I don't know how to vocalize that in my own mind. And I know it's meant to be their own private little like language, like they're humming.
Yeah.
They're communicating with each other. like privately so that no one else can understand. So I feel like movie magic could do it in a way that could be cool, and I just can't do that in my own head because I'd
I
shoot
can't
it.
imagine how they would do it without being.
No, it's the dashes that get me. I'm like, is he like ma?
Maybe if they just had him talk much slower, like I feel like I'm thinking. Is it Winnie the Pooh? I don't know. I feel like I'm thinking.
Eeyore?
Yeah, like sorry, Eeyore.
Thanks
So
for
like
noticing.
yeah. So maybe talk just a little bit slower, but then when he talks in private, maybe do it faster. I really hope that they do it a little bit different.
I can't wait to hear Javier Bardem drop some of these lines that Stilgar said in those last chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he goes, "You toy with me, boy, I will end you."
Yeah. I think that his presence does it in a way that's very subtly threatening, because that's definitely the tone in the book, is that it's subtle. It's meant to be not friendly, but not too intimidating.
Oh, I'll give you a name. Don't worry, you'll get a name. Usul.
Yeah, I mean, like the kind of persona that made Lady Jessica be like, from whence did he come? What is his
Like he starts dropping that energy, and like for a minute, she's like, you almost feel like, hey, like I could be with this dude.
From what noble house do you hail, sir?
What renegade house fled here?
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, he's putting it down. He's like, you can kill me, but I'll get a strike in. I'll get one hit.
And when he's talking about afterwards, he's like, I could make you my woman.
I mean, I can't make you, but I definitely can't take you. We don't do that here.
I don't. What a man.
So let us go into this beginning of this chapter where Paul gets a woman.
Yes, a young woman.
Oh, well, she says she's young.
That was
I believe her.
Awkward where she's basically just like, because the whole plot setup is that they go to the siege, that they introduce him, Paul, and that he Jeff Goldblum, I'm 100% here for it.
Holy shit, him as the collector?
Yes.
Oh my god.
That's sorry to interrupt you, Jen.
That's done. That is not interrupting. 100%.
Nature finds a way, Count.
Exactly, and it doesn't.
Suddenly, it makes sense. Suddenly, it sounds right.
And we don't have a Count Fenring, do we?
No.
Cast. So obviously that would be part of whatever second movie is coming out. So Jeff Goldblum,
So they cut it before that scene, then.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a fade cast. Nope.
Well, it's possible.
Unless it's a surprise.
Like, the chronology of that is not like important to the story. They could just save that for the second movie, and it wouldn't like affect the plot.
Not be Jared Leto.
The Arrakis story.
Yeah.
Don't even say that.
Don't curse it.
Oh my god! What if it was? No, we're not going there.
He's too busy doing what
Joker,
Snyder cut. Yeah, Snyder cut reshoots or something like that. So
as always, I forgot that we have to start with the Stilgar's preface to Muad'Dib the Man.
Mm-hmm.
From by Princess Irulan. Muad'Dib tells us in a time of reflection that his first collision with Arrakeen necessities were the true beginnings of his education. Being given a woman, I think that's the beginning of the education.
Well,
and the sons.
Shortly after he participates in an orgy. So
yeah.
Did he participate? They didn't really.
I don't know. I mean, it's.
Why wouldn't he? He's done all of the other customs. When in Rome, participate in the orgy.
I mean, he even made this weird reference to like having like made love to her before, like so many times, right?
In his dreams,
like,
yes.
Once again, you've like given me shelter from the storm
with your touch, and I'm just like,
these 15-year-olds just went from 0 to 60 real fast.
Yeah, he's like, I gave up my moisture and my dreams to you.
Yeah, they really.
They know what they're talking about.
I mean,
By the way, I have to mention in this chapter also, you won. You won the bet.
thank you. I know that I did.
The tapestries and the the
He went in
cushions.
the fucking rugs.
The rug.
Non-fucking stuff. I mean, there was
The rugs were the
tapestry.
star of the fucking show. They had to drag in 2 rugs for the Water of Life ceremony.
And they were so heavy that they just plopped to the ground and dust flew up.
Yes, it is my talent making predictions about home furnishings.
Didn't say what they're made of.
For anyone watching who has no clue what the fuck we're talking about,
Be right back on.
you know, go back a couple of chapters and for 2 shows, and for some reason Frank Herbert decides that in this world where there's spice and they are folding space and all of these crazy things in the seats, in the middle of the desert, right? There's filing cabinets. Like, there's no modern technology. That's kind of like computers. Computers have been banned, but for some reason, there's a spotlight on. Filing cabinets. So we want to know, like, what's going to be the other focus of?
Oh no, a fold-out chair from the wall was the other one, where it was just like, why spend so much time? And he spends so much time on the fucking rugs. It's like there's rugs everywhere.
Thank you for mentioning that. I was prepared to make a case for me being the winner, but I'm glad to see them both.
There was tapestry, but like not as much time spent as on the rugs. Like
no,
true. There was a lot of tapestry, but I mean, the rugs.
If you start going into the thread count of the tapestries, then I'd be like, all right, like now we have.
We did get some nice color descriptions, a description of thickness here,
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, what was her name? Hara? She has been passed around twice now.
Yeah, her husbands keep getting killed.
First,
one after the other.
Yeah,
Jamis treated unfairly, though.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of not a bittersweet moment, but it felt kind of fucked up because her husband just died, and Paul is this 15-year-old kid, and all of a sudden this like MILF cougar is like, you want to take me for your wife, right? You want to take, I'm still young.
Not as young as I was with Jeff.
I'm not as young, but I'm still really young. And, she says, he's asked, do you want to take her for a wife or do you want to take her as a slave for a servant? Also, you get all of Homeboy's furniture and belongings, and you get his coffee service.
Yes, the
coffee service. And so basically she's like, you want me, right? Like, you want me for your wife. You're going to treat my kids as your own the way that he did. And he's like, I guess I'll take you as a servant. And she's so disappointed, like almost throws herself to the ground. Like, why won't you fuck me, you 15-year-old kid? Which is so weird. But, life in the Siege is different, I guess.
Yes, the coffee, like, I'm like, what the fuck? It's a diuretic and you're in the fucking desert. Like, what are we doing here?
Dude,
but
it's
processed.
Dank.
It's processed in the thigh pads, man.
It's like that Cuban coffee where it's just like one little thimble and you're jacked.
Yep.
No, Jen has a great point. You don't need to worry about finding a bathroom when you wear one in your pants.
Yep. Processed in the thigh pads.
Yeah.
That's where the coffee's made.
And then if you're not in the still suit, you have your recycler or reclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when they find out Liet's dead, we also find out if you're wearing a green armband instead of a black armband, you're mourning.
Yeah, because the kids were not wearing, they specifically made a point to say, we're not wearing green because we're not mourning Jamis because you're our daddy now, Usul.
This Jamis thing, I don't...
Wait, I don't get it.
So, Jamis played by African-American or black gentleman in the movie. Can it be construed as like another white guy killing a black guy?
I think that we need to, not necessarily that we need to see that tragedy against people of color, but, I'm ready to have a conversation about how fucked up that is.
What's up, Rod?
I mean, we can't. I mean, I guess we can't both ask for all the Fremen to be people of color, but then also not want, like the violence that happens in the book.
I mean, it's not like Paul's a cop and he's not like doing a stand your ground. Like, he's challenged. He's a 15-year-old kid who gets challenged to death.
Yeah.
I mean, there is something to that, though.
Like, I mean, it's like a cultural right where he can't refuse, and like he tries to spare him. He literally is like, "Do you yield?" And they're like, "Oh no.
Yeah,
you don't understand this."
It's like very insulting that he asked that.
Yeah,
I think that'll be a very maybe that's why they're doing if they do more reshoots or they do more editing, maybe they are doing that with like those moments in mind. Not necessarily, like I said, that we need to see that type of violence again against a person of color to like get it, because there are still some people that don't get it. But
I asked for one thing: if Paul makes that speech, they need to rewrite it.
Yeah.
God.
It's so fucking horribly written. And
yeah,
thank you everybody who appreciated my dramatic reenactment of last week of doing Jamis, the speech to Jamis. I'm a friend of Jamis.
It was tragically beautiful.
Thank you.
In a horrendous way.
I can't wait for we do community theater, Dune.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they left a lot of that out in the movie. I don't know if I want to say for time purposes because they're putting it into 2 movies, but if they left the Jamis speech out, pajamas, I don't know. Pajamas.
Yeah, honestly, I think most of the things that Paul says now, like during this book that we're in, that we just finished, are pretty cringe at this point in his life.
Oh, I thought the end of the one of the last chapters where he's like, "My mother's my enemy." I was like,
yeah,
like she's done nothing but protect your little scrawny ass.
So can we, for a moment, the fact that I'm jumping ahead, but Jessica
scared the shit out of Jamis.
This ceremony. No. She literally just disregarded her daughter's safety completely just to further Paul into like this new society, just to grant him more power in this community. Like not to save his life, even not for that reason, but just to really secure a position of power for him with these new people.
That her daughter, her unborn, this fetus inside of her was like an afterthought. It was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drink this water. There's poison in it, and I have to figure out a way to separate the poison, it's like manipulate the poison back into water and do all of this. And then it was like, fuck, what is this doing to this unborn, like this fetus inside of me?
Really an afterthought.
And then the Reverend Mother's like, "Oh shit, you didn't tell us."
Yeah, the Reverend Mother was like, "What the fuck?"
Yep.
Jessica.
To Jack's comment here, I think they're going to disregard the whole wife's a slave.
Yeah.
I mean, they must, because that's a very good point. Yeah, that does not.
So it might become the Chewbacca life debt thing to Han Solo.
It could. I mean, they could change the flavor of that in any number of ways, where they either, offer her as like. Maybe they won't even make it a choice. Maybe they will just be like, "This is your woman to care for."
Yes, like him and his kids are now yours to carry their burden.
Yeah, you have to provide for his family.
Because there's a debt for killing, as Paul learned.
I mean, but I guess they do consider it a reward, don't they? I mean, they're like you.
Yes, just like at the funeral where Stilgar's like, "This is mine because I'm leader. Mm-hmm. This is also mine. You can have the balisette, And Jessica's like, "This motherfucker's playing a love song. What is up with this kid?"
So, what? Like, when did this become High School Musical, Paul?
And I just love. She's like, "God damn it, Paul! Like, I got to talk to you about these wild women." Like,
she's like, concubines only.
And she's like, "I was the Duke's lady. No, I wasn't his wife." And she starts pondering it for a minute.
I don't quite know how to verbalize this correctly. I'm not as eloquent as you guys with talking about books and comics and stuff, but I was thinking about this thing that Jessica did. Like, she disregarded the Bene Gesserit's commands to have a daughter for the Duke because she was in love with the Duke, and this was something that she did like for him, right? Like to serve him because he wanted it. And now, even though she is pregnant with a daughter, she's kind of disregarding her own safety and her own future, like for Paul,
She's
to do
reckless.
something that will benefit Paul. I feel like she is. I don't know how to say this correctly, but I feel like she's being kind of a misogynist.
I feel like at this point she's a simp. Like she's simped for the Duke.
Yeah.
Is it because she feels like she's going to get her revenge one way by backing Paul?
I think it's revenge. I feel like this is just the way that she loves, like, her Duke and like her Duke's son, and like,
because the Duke talked about getting desert power, so the way to get desert power.
Yeah.
So
right, but I just feel like her motivation for this isn't revenge so much as it is just to support Paul now.
There is the Erlon chapter where she's talking about in her father's house. She's like, the cruelest thing we did was not give him a male heir. And what if Mother had given him, like Lady Jessica did?
Yeah.
Like, I thought about that a little bit when you were talking about that like purposely, their Bene Gesserit mother was like, nah. Like,
and on the opposite of that, as far as it applies to the Atreides, like if Jessica hadn't broken this one rule that all other Bene Gesserit, as far as we know, like in recorded history, have never gone against their sisters in this way. Like she did this one thing, right? And now look, there's going to be this whole jihad, allegedly. Who knows? I haven't read the books.
That Paul is just trying endlessly to stop. That Paul is just like,
she's terrified.
Any path that I see towards this cannot go towards that. Like I don't want that for my people. He's that. Like that's how he sees it now.
But I also, and I feel like Cidnya might agree with me on this, like actions are words, right? Like he's like getting upset about this in his head, but he's still going forward with all of these things that he knows are going to lead to this, like, intergalactic jihad.
He's always looking at the precipice.
He's like, oh no, my terrible purpose. Yes, Chani, let's make babies.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that they are making plastics and all this other stuff and using the spice.
Oh my gosh, the thing about the dew collectors is so cool.
Yes.
The way that they explain that. I guess I'll try to explain it for anyone who cares. So the way they grow the plant.
Thank you.
Well, I was thinking if anyone was watching, and I just said, "Oh yeah, it's so cool," and then didn't say anything about it.
I'm watching.
Yeah. Well, now I'm nervous. But the way that they grow the plants in the saguaro out in the desert is each plant is planted within a plastic sort of egg, and it reflects light. Like it absorbs and reflects a lot of light, so it gets super, super hot in the sunshine. And then as soon as the sun isn't on it anymore, it's like a rapid cooling plastic. So it gets super cool, so it collects condensation, and that way it waters that one little plant bud and keeps it watered and keeps it growing in the fucking desert. That's so cool.
I also like that everybody's like, people find it weird that you beat Jamis.
Yeah. Like, people are a little freaked out by you. I like Hera. I like her. She's like, you're kind of a freak, aren't you?
Yes.
And he's like, I
am. First to go, Do you want to listen to the Smiths with me and, talk about Chakopsa?
She's like, I've got work to do. I'm gonna
and
go
they talk about, like, how the Sardaukar are hunting them, and they have to keep leaving where they're at. So they're like, we got to produce as much plastic, and then we got to run.
Yeah. And the children are still attending school. And Paul's like, right now? And she's like, we cannot hesitate with Liette's plan.
So also they talk about Stilgar's like, she can be yours for a year. And then if you decide not to keep her, she's free to go with anybody she wants. So there's the out.
This is one of those weird moments where, the last chapter or the chapter before that, Stilgar says, we don't take our women by force, but yet that's exactly what they're doing. Like she belongs to them, and I get that there's these rights, but literally like 3 chapters ago, Stilgar was like, we don't take women by force, but you can have this woman and it's your choice.
I mean, I totally see what you're saying, but there is also the perspective of this where it's like she had a husband originally, and just because that husband was called out by someone, because,
Jamis was hot-headed, as we know.
Yeah, Jamis has a loose trigger finger, apparently. Just because he was called out by someone and was killed, should she now go without, what may be considered like the provider of the family? Should she have to care for the kids on her own? So there is an argument to say that it's quite civilized that if you kill someone's husband or someone's partner, that you then have to provide for them in that same way.
Okay, Dax. You're taking us down a path here, which I don't want to get spoilery, but we all know Paul constantly was trying to run from the golden path and everything else.
His terrible purpose.
He didn't want to do the golden path, so maybe he finally saw that the jihad was his only way to escape the golden path.
I feel like those are one and the same.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah. Because later he says that Leto II did what he couldn't do.
Yes.
Like what he was too afraid to do. So I guess that would be the golden path.
Yes, when he was a cryptid in the desert, when he's like, you're taking the path I could not take.
Yeah, and I would say that Leto II is the one that sorted out the human gene pool, because he gave everybody
4,000 years of stagnation.
Yeah. Well,
and
4,000 years of bullshit,
Ciona's
but then the ability to not be tracked by prescience, which is pretty handy in that day and age.
Because of Ciona.
The one good thing about the movie not coming out this year is that I'm down to just go 4,000 years and we've got Emperor.
We are on this train now, baby. There aren't breaks.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to break Cidnya? Do you really want to break Cidnya on that book?
I feel like she is almost certainly going to drop out after book 1 if we continue this.
Oh, no. I think she wants to see Paul become a piece of shit. Further.
She knows that he is.
I think she's in it. So, maybe Messiah?
Yeah. I mean, that's when he goes full-on feral desert creature, eh?
But I feel like she needs to experience Leto. And
does she?
The Duncans.
Is she not our friend? Okay,
I want her to see the Duncans. I want to get into that.
Plus, I'm gonna say the Atreides, who Ciona's father, is fascinating because they kind of subtly out that he's gay during it.
I vaguely remember that, but I only read The Tyrant
parts
God Emperor once, and it truly took me 4,000 years to get through it. So
I have a strange appreciation for that book, but it takes forever to get to it.
Yeah. No, I do too. I think that making something that experiential to where you really feel that tyranny.
But he's also very tragic where he has no one left. His sister Ganima was his life.
Yeah.
Or his twin. We get to,
his ending thing is super tragic.
When we get to Children of Dune, you'll start understanding why Ganima and his choices are horrific. But we're on Jessica's choices right now.
Yeah.
Where Jessica is, would you say she's a creature of emotion at this point, where she's been trained not to be emotional?
No. I would say that everything that she is doing, she's going almost full Cersei Lannister. Cersei
I love
Lannister,
my family, but
yeah, Cersei Lannister gets a lot of shit. Obviously because of the whole brother fucking thing, but I think that when it comes to her, she would do all of the ruthless things that her father would do, but didn't get any of the credit because she's a woman. And I think that she's operating on that I'm doing everything for my family. I'm doing everything to, even though this fetus inside of me is, was kind of
Another
an
tragic
afterthought.
character.
Yeah, kind of an afterthought. I think she understands that the first, um, the priority needs to be Paul right now. And if Paul can survive, then this fetus inside of me can survive.
That makes sense. She's definitely being extremely strategic.
Yes.
At the end of the chapter, Jamis's kids show up, and he's like,
I love
"These
them.
kids are hardcore."
Oh yeah.
They got their Chris knives out, and he's like, "I've always heard the children fight as ferociously as the adults."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then when they're walking Paul through the crowd, like, back up, chumps.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Take their guard duty seriously.
You're our daddy now.
Oh,
For the next chapter, we start out with the Manual of Muad'Dib by Princess Irulan.
When I read
Is
that,
this the one that doesn't make any fucking sense?
The hands move, the lips move, ideas gush from his words, and his eyes devour. He is an island of selfdom.
Here she goes again, fucking Irulan, raving mad.
This sounds like she's in love.
It sounds like bullshit is what it sounds like. What the fuck is selfdom? What is any of that?
This is Frank Herbert jerking off about his hatred of JFK. Because that's what Paul's based off of. Yeah. No, that's what Paul's based off of.
Paul's based on JFK?
Yes, that influential, charismatic leaders are poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interview with him where he talks about the...
So is Paul based on JFK or just based on that archetype?
The ideology of... Because that's when he was writing it, JFK was in power, and Herbert was not a fan.
Okay.
And he actually writes that it took Nixon to prove that the president isn't infallible and to destroy the archetype of the hero president.
If only he could be alive now.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What would Dune look like now?
I wonder what
he'd be Baron Harkonnen. It'd be the Harkonnens in power.
Yeah. When
we had a very huge spice load. Huge.
When I read the beginning of the chapter, it obviously doesn't make a lot of sense, but what really baffled me was the manual of Muad'Dib. Is this an instruction manual? Is this is there a chapter on how to give him back rubs, or how to treat and feed him?
How to make a spice coffee?
Did you ever see that the Star Wars handbook and stuff where it showed all the armor breakdowns? I feel like that's what it was. She was like, to be Muad'Dib, you gotta be this.
Yeah, it's probably just a historical,
So
one of her nerdy ass books.
Jessica gives an idea how big these fucking caves are, where she's like, this is bigger than the chapter house gathering hall.
Yeah, and she mentions there are 20,000 people in that one chamber.
Yes.
20,000.
And of course the Harkonnens are wrong on their estimation. There's barely anyone. They're like, hey, so the Sardaukar got their ass kicked. We need answers.
Yeah, the Baron's kind of floundering, isn't he?
Yes. There's nobody in the South. Nobody can live in the South. I don't know about that.
Yeah, he's like, who says nobody can live in the South? And they're like, Liette. And they're like, yeah, Liette's dead. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When California's like, yeah, really convenient how all these people keep dying. By the way, kill Saphir. I want that Mentat dead. But he's useful.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I know he has this little hissy fit, but he's useful.
No.
I don't want to kill Saphir. But then at the end, when Fade does, at the end of that chapter, when Fade does his whole fucking cocky bullshittery thing with the poor fighting man from House Atreides.
The short and the long, and the black and the white, and
you
the
never know which hand has the poison in it.
The card talk on his
leg.
But
I've also got a Trump with the stupid ass fucking word that makes you paralyzed. Fucking little cheating ass fucking ass bitch.
I do love how Paul gets a wrestling entrance with being walked down by the two sons with the knives out. Come on.
Keep your distance.
Who wants some? Who wants some? And they talk about
it.
Rolled carpets. and how they have to bring him out for the Reverend Mother, which now we find out is the
Right.
wild Reverend Mother.
Yeah. Well, now she's inside Jessica. So
Yes.
the first time I read that, that like scene where she like figures out what's going, because they don't even tell her what's happening. They're just like, here's some liquid, and then they say some weird ceremonial shit, and then they just start squirting it down her throat, and she just has to
Chani's like squeezing it. She's like, "Oh no, you don't just get a taste."
yeah.
She's like the keg master. She's like, "Oh no, do a handstand. Come on."
Chug. She figures out on the fly. She's like, okay, I kind of recognize what this is, and I can cause some chemical reactions if I rearrange some molecules.
See, I'm seeing the cheesy cinema part of it in my head, where like she's
Oh my
in
God.
the trance and
Like
they're showing
Minority Report.
they're showing the genes and stuff, like when Spider-Man was getting his genes respliced in Spider-Man 1 as he's getting bit by the spider.
I hope we don't get one of those.
I hope not either, because I was like, that'll be cheesy. I really hope Denis Villeneuve will not do that, because he's an artist.
I keep going back to what Jodorowsky was going to do and have this be like a 16 or 14-hour movie. Like, this would hands down be another one of those hour-long moments that, like, you know, it
It's
feels
an hour-long
like
trip to Pink Floyd.
It feels like it's an
It'd be
hour.
like
It feels like it's
Pink
an
Floyd
hour, but
light
then
show.
goes back to like a second in reality, and then goes back and like goes back and forth and back and forth. And I did really enjoy this, even though it is kind of goofy at times, but I loved hearing Jessica figure all of that out, because like you said, she's not given the instructions on how to do this. She just kind of has to rely on her Bene Gesserit training. And she even makes a point to say, I've been given a drug, but these aren't the types of drugs that I was given during my training. And we had some wild ass parties.
And we had all the drugs.
We had all the drugs. But
we
this
also
isn't
figure
like
out
that.
how they get the water of life by drowning a worm and what it regurgitates.
Yeah. And then Paul comes over and he needs some more fucking attention from Mom, so we just have to gloss right over that incredibly interesting fact.
Oh, 100%. Frank had some experiences with psychedelics.
Frank did something for sure.
He came out here to Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, if he was in the desert, he was sipping on that
ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, our last guest, Steve Orlando, was talking about, I could do a Grant Morrison go out to the, desert with some ayahuasca and write an X-Men story.
Hell yeah, you should do that.
Also, since we talked about Jodorowsky for a minute, Quinn's Ideas of Ice and Fire did a video, what Star Wars stole from Dune. Everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Everything.
Oh, right down to the twins. And Anakin's terrible purpose. Is Paul Anakin?
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
But even that gets, if you're familiar with Star Wars, I mean...
Is Obi-Wan Kenobi Duncan, Idaho in that analogy?
No, he's Gurney.
He's Gurney. But later...
Qui-Gon would be Leto, maybe? See a little Liam Neeson.
Oh, we got to work this out. We're going to need a spreadsheet, a whiteboard.
So, like this, a lot of this was just, tripping out. And I do like Chani's out of the still suit, and they're like, oh, she's wearing this blue wrap with her elfin face.
Fucking...
mention her elfin face again. It's so funny whenever
are you the Lysan Al-Gaib? I don't know.
When I was imagining how she looked, I actually imagined her looking like this Peach Momoko Commanders in Crisis cover.
Yes.
This is exactly how I saw her in this outfit. I think the outfit that she wears is supposed to be more green than blue because of the mourning, but 100%.
She has the armband for the ring.
This is exactly what I imagined her looking like.
Are you talking about forced diversity?
Yes. Yeah, Steve Orlando's forced diversity. Someone was forcing him to do this, because why else would you have diversity?
You would have appreciated the conversation that we had, Sid. I mean, besides the fact that I mentioned you about the Midnighter Grace and Thirst.
Was this on Sunday?
Tuesday night, election night.
Mm-hmm.
I sent you the clip of, you were like,
right. You did send me the clip. Yeah, I was performing my civic duty at that time.
I managed to work you in because I was like, our friend Sid loves the Grayson ass thirst. And he was like, oh, well, Celie and King did that part. I was really mad that I didn't get the ass part, but he's like, I totally worked the thirst in. I was like,
well appreciated.
Like the greatest guest. Like he just talked and talked and talked about everything. And as like a queer male, like finding role models or how a queer male was supposed to act in media because of how it was portrayed versus how he was. Just really interesting dude. And then talked about forced diversity, Jen asked, and like basically the bullshit of it all.
Yeah.
Well, not the bullshit of forced diversity.
But it's not forced. It's just this is what,
because there are people, especially people who like comics, who see any diversity and they're like, oh, that must be forced diversity.
Yeah, are you like determinedly avoiding the word comicsgate?
Pretty much.
He was.
Yeah. So like I mean, and it's not just people who say they're part of Comicsgate. It's people who don't even know what Comicsgate is, but they see any diversity and they're like, oh, this is forced diversity. So I'm like, hey, you're saying that this book is incredibly diverse. Like, is someone forcing you to do this? Oh, is that because there's no such thing as forced diversity? Okay. Like,
well, people don't understand when Bendis introduced Miles Morales, they did not know he had a ton of adopted kids that were all different races. So, of course, he wants to see his daughters represented and such. So, like, learn about the people who are writing before you start shit.
Yeah.
And Steve Orlando's like, I'm called openly gay constantly. And he's like, I'm not really openly gay. He's like, I'm bi, I'm queer, whatever you want to call it. He's just like, but at least 4 times a week, openly gay writer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the way people talk about those things
is
flawed in general.
He was very open and fresh about everything, and he talked about trolls online and like how he deals with them. And the thing that bothers him the most is the uncanny valley comments.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like someone goes, "You suck." He's like, "Well, I can't really answer that because it's not really directed. It's just like, whatever."
Okay.
So he kind of had an interesting take on things, but totally worth watching. I think it's our best episode we've done so far.
So far.
Until we get Neil Gaiman on for the Sandman episode.
Yeah, because he'll be on. He watches the show, and I have a direct line to him on Twitter.
Oh, isn't that supposed to be for Jen's birthday or something like that?
Yeah.
When's that?
It's technically the week after my birthday, but I'll still take it.
When?
The
episode's the 29th.
I need dates. I need times.
29th is the episode at 5 p.m.
Of this month?
Yes. And her birthday is the 23rd.
Yeah.
Everything's the 23rd. You're a Scorpio?
Sagittarius, but close. Right there on that cusp.
Even better.
Yeah.
And that's why we get along, because I'm Aquarius, the bastard of the whole...
And what are you, Sid?
Sagittarius.
Oh, when's you?
I'm December 10th.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought your birthday was like, maybe it was a friend's birthday you were celebrating. Maybe that's what it was that I saw. Okay, so December 10th. Good to know. Also good to know.
So I kind of like tagged Neil Gaiman in a tweet, just like, hey, we're doing this book club for my friend's birthday. And, just throwing it out there, just seeing what happens.
Notice me, Senpai. Notice me.
We've got to keep it up. And Neil Gaiman's tweeted at me like once or twice for like tagging him in something about a book or a comic.
I am working on getting Nailbiter Writer on next month.
Nice. That'll be super fun.
Yes, I'm getting very bold with this shit because I'm 2 for 2 so far with people I've randomly tweeted.
Keep it up. I mean, what's that stupid thing? You miss 100% of the throws you don't take or whatever. It's true though.
But Gambit after the Steve Orlando episode, like as we were logging off, was like, hey, like I'm so proud of how much you've improved and how much better everything's gotten. I was like,
talk to you.
I was just like, oh, I want to cry now. Thank you.
Well, you make me feel my own emotions.
And then I started watching the numbers coming in. They're like, there's 4 states that can't decide. I was like, how the fuck does Florida get it for once, even though we voted wrong? Yet Nevada, of all fucking places, can't get their votes in.
Yeah,
I love the memes so much.
But that's a whole other story. So Stilgar just whipping out his leadership dick, is like, hey, shut up, everybody. We got a moment coming here. I guess I got to tell everybody the Reverend Mother's dying.
That booming voice. Oh my gosh, I did want to point out, I do love the way that men are like subtly objectified in this book sometimes. Like when Jessica was experiencing the other Reverend Mother's memories and she like sees this man and she's like, he's virile, bearded, a fine specimen of masculinity.
I'm going to go ahead and gracefully dip out. I love you both, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.
Okay. Bye, Jen.
Later.
All right, so we're doing a twofer now, and we're going into the drug trip. So as we talked about, Chani was just squeezing the bag of spice water in the water of life. She's like, did you get enough? No? And Jessica's tripping out, and then the Reverend Mother enters her trip after she's kind of turned the water and starts basically giving her her life.
Yeah, giving her
like
all
her history,
of her genetic knowledge, like her hereditary memories, like her historical knowledge, and which she presumably received from the Reverend Mother before her. So Jessica describes it as like this long corridor, and there's like all of these different offshoots of the corridor with like different bits of like not just this Sietch's history, but like the history of these people genetically, like other planets that they were on, and like wars that they fought, and like you know, problems that they've had elsewhere that led them to being here, and like the different ways that their family tree is like branched off and arrived here.
I also like weirdly want to say like where Jessica's tripping out and thinking she might die. Like Stilgar called her Jessica of the Weirding,
which is an awesome title.
But she's like, if I die in this attempt, what will become of Paul?
Yeah.
Like what happens to him?
What will become of Paul? Again, not what happens to the unborn child or what happens to me. What happens to Paul?
And so now we're going to enter into the most tragic character of the series, or one of the most tragic. So as the Reverend Mother's in there, she's like, holy shit, you're pregnant? Like, why the fuck didn't you say anything? And basically what happens, this unborn child is being burdened with all the memories being awakened of their whole genetic heritage.
It's like every sensation that you can experience in a lifetime for like hundreds of lifetimes all at once.
So they're showing this, what they call the moat of this unborn child, like running around wild. And Jessica kind of does like a hug of the moat to calm it down. And the Reverend Mother's like, well, whatever happens, happens. Like, this isn't good. I'm dying. And Jessica opens up the memories and goes in as she's still clutching this unborn child. And she becomes Alia, Saint Alia of the Knife, eventually. And they talk about how an unborn child can be touched by madness because their personality isn't anchored yet.
Yeah, because, I mean...
Abomination.
Yeah. We don't even really get... Oh, you do get to that in this book. You do.
Yes. Yes, because the Reverend Mother Mahaim is like, abomination!
Yeah,
kill the child.
Right. And like Hera is like freaked out by her and all the people in the siege.
So basically, they turn the water of life into a drug at that point, and the whole siege gets down in an orgy.
Yeah, so they modified it from being like a poison to being like ecstasy.
A euphoric, yeah, it's basically like MDMA, like so they're all like just fucking away, and then Paul's like, Chani takes him by the hand and kind of leads him around.
And they have such a weird conversation. I hate the way that Paul talks right now.
It's so cringy because he's starting to trip out on it too, and he's like, if I drink this, like, I know what it's gonna do to me. it's gonna turn me into a monster. So
Yeah.
he's like that alcoholic is like, if I take one drink, like I'm gonna be talking some weird
You know
shit.
what happens next?
So basically they're having a rave in the cave.
Yeah, they're having the orgy, and when Jessica kind of like comes to for a moment because of Paul's little bitch ass being like, "Ma'am, is it safe to drink?" God, it's so annoying. Jessica kind of like looks around and like sees what's gonna happen, and the Reverend Mother is like, "Let them have their orgy, sweetie. They deserve it."
Well, Jessica's like, I could take away, like,
Great
I could
attitude.
change it. I could take away the drug action and make it harmless.
She's like, no.
But that'd be wrong.
Let them have their orgy, sweet girl.
And then she, like, basically passed out.
Yeah.
Like, she was just like, "Eee."
She sleeps in the waters of life.
Yes. And
I
she's
mean,
like,
she's got
it's
a
been
lot to
blessed.
process. Yeah. Got a lot going on. Yeah,
And
it's exactly like the Matrix style orgy.
And also, just
that was probably stolen from this book too.
Just so everybody knows, nobody took advantage of Jessica while she was passed out. At least not that they say.
She's the Reverend Mother now. She's their holy woman.
But like, I can see Stilgar going, she's still fine. Like, nah, I'm good. I got enough wives.
I feel like Stilgar would kick someone's ass if they tried anything. I
Probably.
think
He respects her too much, and he says that many times. He's like, I could take you as my woman, but that's not our way.
He's a good man. He wouldn't do her like that.
And in the future books, like, she comes back, and he, like, kisses her toes, basically. Like, he loves her. Like, I think truly loves her.
She's a Duke's lady.
And she says it many times.
She gets it done.
Kind of like how Paul every now and again be like, I'm the Duke. You can't give me a name.
Hey.
But Johnny's like, drink it, Paul. Drink it. You scare people. You scare me.
Yeah, so they have their super weird, stilted conversation about how she's scared of him, and then he doesn't really say anything comforting, but then a moment later she's like, never mind. I understand now.
I know you, Johnny.
We're meant to give each other love in the night. And it's like, you're 14.
I know you, Chani. We've sat upon a ledge above the sand while I soothed your fears. We've caressed in the dark of the siege. He's like, we've, and they lost focus.
I just hate it. Like,
you must tell me you are Sahaya, the desert spring. And I'm like, boy, your game is weak.
That is a really, really cute nickname for your desert girlfriend. I will give him that.
But he's using the prescience, though. Like, he's just like, I've seen this.
I mean, yeah, he cheated to get it, but it is still a cute nickname.
And I like when the tribes share the water, we're together. All of us.
Yeah, it reads like bad acting. Like, even when you
it's Twilight. It's Twilight. It's literally Twilight.
But I don't think that I've had this experience of like feeling this negatively about this dialogue the other times I've read this book. I think maybe it's just because we're doing such a close reading and we're looking at it chapter by chapter. Because if 100%,
we weren't, because I've probably
just blast through this and be like, wow, whatever, onto something that's less fucking unsettling to me. Because this is weird. This is weird, Paul.
It's cringy. It's fucking cringy as fuck.
Cringe, dude. This is on that subreddit for cringe. It's just
like,
Paul Atreides.
He's that dude who's doing e-talk where he's like, I've seen us holding each other. Like, we could be together. I don't know what I'm talking about right now.
XD.
Yeah.
Fucking weirdo. I'm not like other guys.
Oh, how can I know every feature of you? I was just like,
yeah, see? Like, y'all don't get to know that.
And then she's like, I see a child in my arms. It's yours and mine. I was like, what the fuck is going on? You're not prescient. Like, you're just dreaming, girl. No,
she said that that's why she took him away from the others, is because when they're around him, I don't know, it rubs off on them. He's contagious.
I'm a freak.
Things. That's what she said. And I guess I guess that does make sense and feeds into like, you know, his like rabid fan base that he ends up having, you know, the actual jihad that does
Cult of
occur because Paul
personality.
doesn't actually stop it.
There's no other place for peace but in your arms. It's like, oh God, like,
Wow.
Usul, you're crying.
Um,
Usul, my strength, do you give moisture to the dead?
I think Paul has cried in every chapter for like the last 4 chapters. Get it together, Paul. Oh, kitty.
Like he's emo before emo.
Sorry. I disturbed the cat. Oh,
Sahaya, my desert rose.
I stand by that. Calling your desert girlfriend your desert stream, your safety from thirst and heat in the harsh desert. That's a cute ass nickname.
When she put a palm against his cheek, I'm no longer afraid, Usul. Look at me. I see what you see when you hold me thus. What do you see? I see us giving love to each other in a time of quiet between storms. It's what we were meant to do.
They're children. I just can't not, you know, like they're kids. They're actual kids. Paul is 15. We don't know how old Johnny is. She's probably younger than Paul.
14 or
She's
15.
at least the same age. Yeah. They're barely even teenagers.
Do you think because we're older now, we're looking at it in a whole different light of like
Maybe.
that romance is like, not romance?
We're jaded and we're like, these fucking kids. They think they know how this is going to work. They're wrong.
So, like, further again, is Paul a villain?
I don't know because
I can't say he's a villain because he's constantly running from what he sees as being his terrible purpose.
I disagree with you there. I think he just says like, oh no, I can't stop it. And he doesn't actually make any attempt to. What has he done?
100% Dax, like 100%. Like even Blade Runner or When Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the weird thing with Deckard and Sean Young. Yes, like it's cringy. It's very cringy.
Yeah, but at least we get Harrison Ford.
Yes. Oh God. It's funny hearing people complain about the movie saying it's too long. I was like it was cut down. It was longer. Like there's so many different cuts of that damn movie. And I actually like 2049. I thought 2049 was a good movie.
Everybody really likes it, and I think it
was long.
I'm just like I'm not a film person, you know, and that's one of those like films that people who are really into films really like, and people like me who are fucking laymen and I don't know anything about cinematography or what makes a good movie. I just know that I spend a lot of time bored. Like I realize it's beautiful, but like how long can I look at this desert scene without like?
Well, that was the thing when like they first were like the director of Blade Runner 2049 is going to do Dune. I was like, yeah, I'm good. Like, yes, please.
See, with Dune, I feel like I won't have that problem at all because I'm already like fully absorbed in the story.
And it's his passion project.
Yeah, I have high hopes.
I do too, and the fact that he like 100% knew that there were problems that he wanted to fix. Like Liet Kynes as a woman in it, as an African American woman, is fascinating to me.
I don't think she's American.
Or as a person of color and a woman, no less.
Yeah.
Like, just completely gender flipping, color flipping it. Like, I want to see that. Like, I want to see what they do with it because he's like, listen, there's a person of color, there's a woman problem in this book. And in the movies, there's a real problem. So, I mean, as much as people want to complain about, you know, the Middle East, North African lack in that, at least he's putting an effort towards getting people of color in it. I don't think there's any way you can 100% make everybody happy with this movie.
I don't think like that's ever a possibility for anything, making 100% of people 100% happy.
Yeah. So we are at 2/3 of the book done.
Wow.
Which when we started it, I was like, you know what? If we get to when the movie starts, which who knew that was going to be pretty much not going to happen.
Yeah.
At this point, push back a year.
We would have made it though, wouldn't we have?
Oh, we would have. Yes, we went faster than I thought we ever were.
Yeah.
But I think Cidnya getting very involved in it, where she like got it, like after we got past 100 pages, started devouring it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That kind of helped. But 794 ends the book, and then we get into the 100 and something pages of appendixes.
Right, the Dune encyclopedia.
Yes, so we are very close to.
Okay, sure. I mean, especially when you see his like physical end in the book, you know, with his eyes and like literally just disappearing into the desert like a myth.
Well, like the Fremen do, once they are unable to do what they're supposed to do, they walk out into the desert to die.
But he doesn't die.
No, he just becomes a cryptid.
Yeah. That's my point.
And he announces his own mythology.
Yeah.
So he's kind of a fascinating character because he's a hero, he's a kind of a villain. Like Leto II, you could almost say is a villain 100% for the greater good.
Yeah, but like you could in the same way that like Ozymandias is a villain, but like did it not work? Like the thing that he did, it did, you know? Same thing with Leto.
Very much I don't know if Paul's so much a tragic character.
Yeah, no, I think for sure he is. And I think maybe like if you don't look at this as
or maybe not as sympathetic, where like Alia you're completely 100% sympathetic about by the time her story wraps up, and Leto, as horrible as he is, there is a little bit of sympathy because he purposely took the path that his father could not take, knowing what was going to happen.
In the grand scheme of things, he did sacrifice himself for like the good of the Atreides bloodline.
5,000 years. It takes like 4,500 years to kind of clear up his history.
Yeah. And then I like, so I was saying, if you look at Dune, not as this book and not even as the trilogy, but if you look at it as like the overarching story, Paul is just like, he's just like the catalyst for all of this stuff.
I mean, Jessica is the main catalyst because none of this goes into motion, it's but
not her fault.
Literally, like you see these actions in the books until you actually see all the books happen, you start to understand why these decisions were made. Like Paul's burdened with knowing there's two paths he can take. One, a lot of people die. Another one, he gives up his humanity. Yeah. Which some would say starting a jihad would be losing your humanity. It's you have to make it. Aw.
Put her down before she makes me.
Mine is passed out in the other room. He sees the lights go on in here and he just goes away.
Oh,
I post that little video of me petting him this morning.
God, she's buying books from the New York Times bestsellers on my iPad. Awesome. That's what she's doing right now.
Is it romance novels?
What is she buying? Nonfiction. She was trying to buy a book by Matthew McConaughey.
All right. Now we know what your cat likes.
I'm going to close that.
So for the next read along, which hopefully we'll have Cidnya back. Apparently Spectrum's trying to fuck her to get internet.
That checks out.
They wanted $350 to come hook up her internet. So now she has to wait for the people's contract with Frontier to end so she can get internet. So we will have her back eventually, and she did make a post at Cidnya Reads on Instagram. You didn't get her spicy stuff about Paul, but it's coming.
Yeah, I can't wait to have her back.
Ooh.
Spice Girls together again. Let's do like the same amount of...
Well, the first chapter is really short.
Okay. Naga took over my iPad, so I don't know what's going on anymore.
You named the cat after the snake from Orochimaru's snake?
No, her name's Nagasaki.
Ooh, we start out this chapter with a little bit of Princess Irulan on Count Fenring, a profile. We have a new book. We have a new book. No, we have a new book. This is on Count Fenring. This does not have to do with Muad'Dib at all.
This is just Dan's Irulan fan club.
Some people like the Duke. Some people like the princess who's barely in the book.
Yes.
Who in the movie is very fucking prevalent.
I don't remember. I remember the montage in the beginning where she's like, Dune, Arrakis.
That they cut out of the director's cut. The TV movie, she is in it a lot. Like even seducing Fade Routha.
Are you talking about the Children of Dune one?
No, the sci-fi. They had one just for Dune.
Playing Leto the Second, which is a crime.
James McAvoy?
Is that? I don't know anyone's name.
Yeah, Professor X.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3. So 3 chapters takes us to 634.
From
591.
Okay, totally cool for me.
Okay. And the next chapter starts with another Irulan from Arrakis Awakening. Control the coinage of the court and the courts. Let the rabble have the rest. Thus the Padishah Emperor advised you. And he tells you, if you want profits, you must rule. There's truth in these words. But I ask myself, who are the rabble and who are the ruled?
Oh, Emperor.
Muad'Dib's secret message to the Landstread from Arrakis Awakening by Princess Irulan.
The foremost capitalist in the galaxy doesn't get to ask those type of questions.
Princess Irulan does, though, because reasons.
Because she is beyond judgment. Okay, cool. So,
but we don't have the sex nuns in yet, and then that's going to start.
You got to wait for that.
I really like Siona, though.
You got to build up to it. Yeah, Siona's rad.
Like, she's such a, little rebellious bitch. I do love that meme of, the God Emperor telling her what the Golden Path is, and it's the Rick and Morty thing with Morty going, motherfucker, all you had to say was the Golden Path. I'm in. Hey, Stevie B, we are getting ready to roll out. This has been a full episode. Jen had to bail out because she was in a little bit of back pain. But thank you, everybody, for joining in. Dax, you had some great comments in the chat that sometimes we gloss over, but you brought it to the forefront. And
yeah, there's some really good comments in the chat.
Yes, and honestly, thank you, everybody, for joining in. Again, we usually do these thinking no one will ever watch because it's Dune, and you either love Dune or you fucking can't understand what the hell's going on. It's usually more of the latter.
Oh, no worries, man. Every Monday.
Yes, although
you can't escape us.
The next 2 weeks I have to work Mondays, so we have to kind of work around it because of Thanksgiving. They have to switch my schedule around.
I'm sure we could do a different day. I mean,
yeah, I have Tuesday off next week, and then
that's fine for me. I'm pretty flexible because I work early in the morning. So
you're working?
Yeah. I'm teaching online.
Oh, that yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, and I'm still waiting to hear from the interview and whether I'm getting that day job. But supposedly, no matter if I get it or not, December I'm off of nights.
That's good. Yeah.
My boss very much enjoyed your "fuck everybody" clip.
Me?
Yes. Yeah, the last time you were on.
Sounds like something I would say.
The last time you were on, fuck them if they don't appreciate you, and the fingers.
Oh yeah, well you know what? Fuck him.
Well, he's one of my fans basically in there, and he was like, I like her. He's like, now I know why I wanted to offer her a job, and I was like, no, and thank you.
Yeah, much appreciated.
So Stevie B, should you watch Dune first? The TV movie is probably the closest to the book. The David Lynch one is so wildly off-brand. I would recommend actually reading the book.
Read the book.
So, as Cidnya and both Sid have said, the first 100 pages, you'll feel like you're being insulted. Like, it challenges you. It throws so much shit at you where you're like, all right, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, you're like, this book wants me to think I'm stupid, but I'm not going to give it the satisfaction.
100 pages in, I don't want to say it settles down, but you'll start getting more of an understanding of the world.
The beat drops. Like, you didn't realize how much you were, like, waiting for this shit to make sense, and then suddenly all of it makes sense, and you're like...
So for you, is it when the Harkonnens and Piter dropped in where you're like, oh...
Oh, man. It was... No. You know what it was for me? And maybe this is why this sticks with me so much. It was the fucking tooth, my guy. That's what it was. For me, it was the tooth. For the Duke, it was the tooth. Life-changing for both of us.
Also, if you really just want to get like a breakdown of the series, Quinn's Ideas or Ideas of Ice and Fire, he used to be, because he used to do all Game of Thrones, but now he's doing all Dune. He broke down every book and did like clips, art, video explaining all the books and going through like plot by plot. Like, I think the original Dune one is broken into 2 parts and it's 4 hours long. So it's super informative, and he breaks down like the weapons of Dune, the technology, the Butlerian Jihad. Like,
it's a fucking project, man.
He's got a whole playlist, but like, check out his stuff. And as he's explaining it, if you really think that you want to dive into it, like, get into that book.
Abysmal is an understatement. I cannot physically read his books.
I read all of them.
Can't do it.
He lacks the deft hand of his father. He definitely does not have the furniture sense that his father had.
Yeah, if the furniture's not there, I'm fucking out.
Like, there's no bidets, there's no wall hangings, like, we're not there.
Not a fun cabinet in sight.
The prequels were not horrible. But when we get on the thinking machines fucking coming back, like, and they're just making Gola after Gola of people that existed before.
I have heard people say that the prequels are not so bad, but so after I finished Chapter House, I then went on to try and read whatever that next book was called, and it broke something in me. Like, trying to read it, I just really couldn't do it. Like, I was like, I sure do want to know how this story is supposed to end, but I cannot physically make it through this novel.
Like, the Butlerian Jihad books were interesting. The Machine Crusade, I think they called it, because just to find out why the Harkonnens and Atreides hate each other.
Yeah. I'm glad that he wrote all of those, and I'm glad that you enjoyed them. I just think for me,
I didn't quite enjoy them. Like, I just
tone shift from Chapter House, which was Frank Herbert's last one, to then Brian Herbert just taking over.
Loose notes.
Like, going directly, like, finishing this book and then picking up the next book to read the next one and being like, what the fuck is this garbage?
Yeah, the loose notes where it's just like, hey, Kevin J. Anderson, like, here's my dad's notes. Just put me in this and you write it. And, like, he did the initial Star Wars books, so, like, that's how I was kind of reading them as.
Who did, Brian Herbert?
Kevin J. Anderson.
Oh.
He was the co-writer, which I really think he wrote most of it. And Brian Herbert's like, my dad said this. My dad said this.
Yeah, probably. Oh.
Yeah. But, like, the stuff with, like, the Machine Crusade, just to find out how, like, Atreides and Harkonnen, how that whole feud started and what started it and how fucking ridiculous it was once you read what it was. It's kind of dumb.
I believe it. Yeah. So honestly, at this point in my life, I would probably just watch a YouTube video about it.
There is one.
I'm probably never going to read the
prequel. There is one. Quinn's Ideas did one. I'll send you the link. Like, I'll send you the one for the what Star Wars stole from.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
They literally broke it down piece by piece, but so we've got our chapters. It's 3 chapters starting from book 3, The Prophet Muad'Dib.
So the first 3 chapters of book 3.
What I'd love to see is in the movie at the end of end of it, it's like Irulan
Like a
closing
title card.
closing the book, or like
Oh.
turning her computer off.
You just
Like,
want your fucking Irulan fan service. You want her to like pull the curtain.
it would be so fucking dumb. Like, it would just be like, oh, why? And this is what I dub the history of Muad'Dib. Oh, he did have a huge hand, because as soon as there was clones being used, I was like, oh. Because that's what his Heir to the Empire book was. It was fucking Clone of the Emperor. Spoilers!
Holy. That sounds like a horrible mishmash of things.
Noah, I will tweet those links out, either on mine, because I don't know if you follow me, or I will share it with Sid, because I know you are friends with her on there. If you are the same Noah, I think you are.
Oh, I didn't realize this was that Noah. If it is, hi Noah.
Who apparently his sister used to work for me at Barnes & Noble.
Huh. Small
Abigail.
world.
Yes, Abigail. Because I think she has a brother named Noah who lives in Brevard, or lived in Brevard.
Name. Like, my friend Noah is the only Noah that I've ever met.
It's not a very common name, and I think I saw on her Facebook your friend Noah on there. So
Okay.
I mean,
yeah, Brevard's a pretty small town.
Oh no, it's gigantic. And then I get my tattoo tomorrow from Gambit.
Yay, big day.
Infected with terrible purpose. With the sandworm.
Is that what you're getting tomorrow?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, he's gonna do the rest of the sleeve.
We're really keeping it on brand this week. We got Dune tattoos, we got Dune shows, we're tweeting Dune links.
Her sister's fantastic, Noah. She was one of my favorite people. We talk X-Men a lot.
Much appreciated. Yeah, read the book, you nerd. You should read the book. Sorry, I didn't realize we were friends. I didn't realize I could be impolite.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Stopping by.
Everybody, you're the best. Sid, you're the best. And, of course, to my lovely co-host who had to dip out, Jen, my friendo. Take care, everybody, and we will see you next week. We'll have to figure out the day, and hopefully we'll have Cidnya back. Hopefully. Check out at Cidnya Reads for all of her good hot takes. So I'm going to warn you about that audiobook. It is dry as fuck. It is drier than the desert. That dude talks like he's from Ferris Bueller. And they were out in the desert. Paul went.
Maybe there's more than one.
I hope so. I hope it's like the Harry Potter one where there's two different
movies coming out. Maybe someone capitalized on that and did a better audiobook.
Like, give me James McAvoy reading it. I'd be down.
Yeah, he has a cute voice, I think.
Well, he did Morpheus in the Sandman one they did.
Yeah, I still haven't heard that because I don't have Audible anymore because I was in Asia and it wasn't working.
Well, Jen got it and she hasn't listened to it. She's like, oh, Kat Dennings is playing Death. Awesome.
That is awesome.
But she's never listened to it. She bought it and never listened to it.
Wasn't it episodic? Isn't it like...
I think if you paid for it once, you got all of it. But I think they might have dropped piece by piece.
Was it the first volume or just the first issue they were doing? Surely not the first issue of Death.
I think it's probably the first volume or like an interpretation of the first volume.
Sorry, I forgot how chronology works.
It's weird how that works with like the audiobooks and what they choose and what they don't choose to put in. In the Sandman episode we're doing, we're going to have like 7 people on, so it's going to be a packed house.
Oh, wow. That's going to be a mess.
Yeah. But it's Jen's birthday, and she wanted people on, and I had already invited you, so...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll be there.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be part of the mess.
So everybody read the fucking book. Join in. Keep the chat going. Again, Dax, awesome commentary on this and everything else. And follow Sid at Cartoon Sid. Also, I'm at Comic Chop News. And, of course, Jen at Comic Books Will Break Your Heart on Instagram.
Nailed it.
Can I watch James back?
I Wish
I
you
would
could.
actually. You know what? Patrick Stewart was in the fucking movie, the original David Lynch. I would pay to watch him read it.
Someone can pay me to read the book to you. I am available for that. I'm a
You
freelance
don't want Patrick Stewart?
audiobook narrator. Do you think that I don't hold a candle to Patrick Stewart? Because I don't.
Have you done Shakespeare?
No. I think I could do Dune, though.
It would just be all like from Lady Jessica's perspective. This fucking kid, like, I'm tired of him. Like, I'm doing everything for him, and I can read his face and his thoughts.
My
He's
shitty
mocking me.
fucking son. You're lucky you're the Duke's son.
And as Cidnya said, fuck Paul. He can suck my dick.
Yeah.
Is Paul a himbo?
I mean, I guess Chani's going to. No, Paul is not a himbo. Paul is dangerously smart. That is being a himbo immediately. Paul is.
He definitely is.
Fade Routha?
Yeah.
You have to be kind to be a himbo.
You can be a
Fade
dick.
Routha is ruled out. You know who are himbos? All of the Sardaukar.
Well, Duncan?
Yeah, Duncan for sure.
Gurney's a little too artistic to
Duncan's
be.
the ultimate himbo. That's why. Do you remember when they first announced the Dune casting?
Momoa.
Freaking out, and I was like, whoever was in that casting meeting was like, okay, we need a himbo that everyone agrees should just be reincarnated for 4,000 years.
I also remember everybody going.
Jason Momoa.
I also remember though they were like, Jason Momoa cannot shave his beard off, and there were people protesting because he shaved it off for the movie.
Wait, why can he not? Is it part of his religion or something?
No, just there was a bunch of like MILFs, I'd say, that were like protesting that he was shaving his beard off for the movie.
Oh, because they wanted a virile bearded man. It'll be back, ladies.
Ooh, Jeremy Irons, that's a good one. Good call.
Yeah, if anyone has a good Dune audiobook link.
Also, like Ian McKellen, Magneto, I would.
Yeah. Magneto.
Like if he were younger, the guy who played David in Prometheus, he was Magneto. Huh? No, like if he played Fade Routha, if he was younger.
No.
If he was younger?
No.
Really?
No, because Fade Routha is like
Cocky?
like a little shit.
I'm curious because like
What is that guy's name from Prometheus? I can't remember it.
I keep going to Skarsgård, and that was the guy who was in True Blood, and
The guy's really hot. The guy who plays the Prometheus cyborg.
I know you were down for the whole cyborg on cyborg.
I was all about it.
Oh god, like I remember he was in that movie Shame, and it was just his giant fucking dick.
Yeah. I remember Googling that dick in a bar one night. I was like talking about how that guy was so hot. Michael Fassbender, thank you. I was talking about how that guy was so hot. And they're like, oh, did you see his dick? And I was like, what?
So I was at the X-Men Days of Future Past panel, and Ian McKellen was on it, and Fassbender with all of them. And Ian McKellen's like, so Michael, I saw some pictures from Shame.
Did he call him out on his dick?
Yes, what? And he's like, so I don't know if you're aware, but I'm single right now. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, Ian McKellen is thirsty as fuck.
He is all of us.
It was so crazy. Richard Burton. I did see that Camelot movie years and years ago. He does have that great British voice. Michael Gambon, also from who played Dumbledore.
Yeah, so far it seems like pretty much any option is better than.
Yes, like if it has some life to the voice, like I'm down for it. So we're at an hour and a half, and like it's way too long. Again, take care, everybody. Goodbye, and see us next week. So long.